£3 billion. That's how much Keir Starmer's Labour government has splashed so far on foreign nations, while you, the British people, are left to struggle. Pensioners are freezing, farmers are being taxed into the ground, and working families can't afford to live. Yet we're funneling billions abroad. Around £2.26 billion to Ukraine, while we scrap Royal Navy warships. $50 million for vulnerable Syrians, while our elderly shiver. £536 million to foreign farmers, while British farmers are crushed under Labour tax hikes. And while our borders remain wide open.
So today I'm announcing £84 million of new funding for projects across Africa and the Middle East.
Oh, and let's not forget another £40 million to boost Ukraine's economy while British high streets collapse. That is your money. Money that should fund our hospitals, our schools, and energy bills. But instead, it's propping up foreign governments while Britain falls apart. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has been away.
Let me be clear. The UK will not forget Sudan.
Back at the end of last year, I doubled aid to 230 million so we could reach 800,000 people. But the world now needs to do more.
Oh, yes. How could we forget Sudan? But it's not just Sudan, is it? Lammy is jetting off to Tunisia, pledging £5 million more of your taxes to train migrants in the hope they stay put. Oh, I'm sure that'll work, David, because why wouldn't they want to come to Britain? It's not like they'll be escorted across the channel, given free housing, benefits, 4-star hotels, priority GP and dental care, and 3 hot meals a day. Does anyone seriously think £5 million is going to change anything? Let's take a look at Pakistan. Despite almost £300 million in aid between 2020 and 2023, a staggering 184,000 Pakistani nationals arrived in the UK in the same time. That's according to the Office of National Statistics. And get this, the number actually increased when the aid started to flow in 2019. We saw 21,000 Pakistani arrivals then. So more money is apparently just a magnet for more migrants. Meanwhile, in my opinion, the Prime Minister has been gaslighting the nation. He stood in Downing Street and told you how bad our finances are, telling us we need to tighten our belts. And that's what we must suffer because of the phantom, unsubstantiated, multi-billion-pound black hole that we keep on hearing.
Things are worse than we ever imagined. In the first few weeks, we discovered a £22 billion black hole in the public finances. And frankly, things will get worse before they get better.
Inspiring stuff. Well, Prime Minister, if it's so bad, how on earth can we afford all this virtue signalling? It's as clear as day to me. While you're paying record high taxes, watching your towns crumble, and you're struggling to heat your home, this government is making you pay for foreigners to have a better life. We're being taken for mugs. Does Labour clearly just hate this country? But let's get the thoughts of my panel. We've got political consultant Suzanne Evans, Stephen Wolfe, Director of the Centre for Migration and Economic Prosperity, and journalist and broadcaster JJ Anasobi. Suzanne, I'll start with you. Look, we are clearly, as you might have seen from my interview earlier on, in a bit of a rock and a hard place. The economy, we don't know whether we can get any growth before 2050. Heathrow's not even going to probably have its first spade down then. What are we going to do? It's quite clear to me that the Labour Party is very keen to send foreign aid abroad and do all this virtue signalling nonsense, while British people are suffering. What's going on?
Yeah, the problem is, so this latest initiative about Tunisia, let's just focus on that for a moment. It's utterly ridiculous. Why have we got boats coming across the channels in the way we have? These people are paying thousands of pounds for just people smugglers for their carriage. Why is it happening? It's because poor countries, that were full of people that couldn't afford to go anywhere are now getting much wealthier for all sorts of reasons, be that foreign aid, be that the advance of capitalism, whatever it might be. The more you actually fund these countries, the more the middle class in that country, if you like, is going to become wealthier, and they're going to be able to afford to migrate. So in a sense, what David Lammy is doing is actually fueling a problem that we've already got. He's just going to make it worse. And I've been having a look at Tunisia and how it fares economically compared to us. It's actually really interesting. Their GDP growth is better than ours. In fact, it's twice as good. They've got much lower government debt and as a ratio of GDP. We're running, our national debt's running at nearly 98% of GDP. Theirs is around 76%. And interestingly, their citizens also pay a lot less income tax than we do. Incredible. And businesses pay only 15% corporation tax. So in a sense, they've got, the good makings of an economy there. Yeah, they've got a much higher unemployment than us. But Tunisia is not a country that is struggling. It is not a country that people need to be leaving. But the more you enable people to have wealth in that country, the more they're inevitably going to try and come to the West.
Well, I think that's the case as well. But, JJ, look, Italy spent like €500 million on Tunisia and other places in North Africa. They've cut crossings by 59%. Our crossings are up comparatively, I think, by something ridiculous, at least 7 or 8% on the year. We're spending billions as well. Now we're going to send 5 million to Sudan and Tunisia and other places. Surely we should just be focusing on strengthening our borders at home, right?
The numbers are skewed a little bit because actually it was because of Gaddafi's relationship with Berlusconi that Italy agreed to pay what was actually reparations, something this country says we will never do. We're never going to pay reparations. Italy paid reparations, building roads, helping infrastructure.
Would Giorgia Meloni call it reparations? I doubt she would.
She wouldn't, but Berlusconi did call it that. He built hospitals, he did roads, he built schools, all because of historic offences that Italian soldiers had committed in that region. And in that time when Gaddafi was in charge, crossings were at an all-time low. Since the West deposed Gaddafi and killed him, it's gone. It's run by terrorists over there now.
So do you think this is money well spent then, JJ? Right?
I think 5 million quid or 6 million quid to educate people over there to say, actually, it ain't the land of honey and gold over there. It's a drop in the ocean for this country. Were you complaining when UK was Boris Johnson was paying British citizens to take in Ukrainians? Were you complaining about that? Because that was, I think, it totaled around 5 billion. No, yeah, it was legal. It was legal, but we're still spending money to help. Yeah. They're in a war. You think those regions aren't in a war?
Well, listen, I just criticised Ukraine, saying we're sending too much money there still. In my opinion, I think we need to stop doing that.
But British people were okay with us spending money to house Ukrainians. Now we're spending a lot less money, a fraction of the money, to educate people to say don't come to England. And now it's heavens above.
JJ, in the research that I did on the European Union's Africa Fund, it's got the Africa EU Fund. The EU has about 4 different programmes that have put over 110 billion euros into Africa in the past 11 years. Look at what we're going to put into that country. It's a drop in the ocean.
Continent.
And if we think for a moment what we are going to give those countries is going to have any impact whatsoever, is not at all. The main reason those people are leaving those countries to come to ours is because they can see on TikTok, they've got phones to their friends, they're emailing their mates saying, look, when you get over to that country, it's going to be a good life, you're going to earn more than what you're getting back home. And so you asked for a solution. The solution is some things that we put in years ago. Stop having neo-colonialism with our biggest businesses and American ones in Africa. Allow them to have their own form of capitalism where their businesses aren't being taken over. Stop taking all their assets for them. Allow them to do exactly what Suzanne says, which is give them the opportunity to run their countries with low tax rates and the ability, and stop killing their leaders just because they're building up gold and want to take them.
For once, I agree with Mr. Wolf. We've got an agreement here.
Well, okay, Suzanne,
well said.
Some would argue that these sorts of things, giving aid to foreign countries, is good for us in the long run because if places like Tunisia, as you said, their economy booms, they'll remember that, hopefully. Do you think it's a wise spending of money?
You see, I've always taken the view that it should be trade, not aid, that we give to countries. We should be giving them tariff-free trade.
Absolutely.
We should be encouraging them to be self-dependent and stand on their own 2 feet. None of us would disagree, I'm sure, in this room, and probably anybody watching at home, that when it comes to emergency aid, we should be doing our bit to help. Absolutely, I've got no quibble with that at all. But I'm afraid aid keeps countries dependent, just in the same way that being on benefits all your life keeps people dependent. Labour love it. They love it. It's wrong. I don't want people to be victims. I don't want people in what we used to call the third world, now the developing world, victims. They need to be given the tools to stand on their own 2 feet. And as a Western wealthy nation, we can do that very, very easily through trade, but not aid. Don't victimise people. Don't keep them dependent forever.
JJ, would you swap out the foreign aid budget and give it to pensioners if freezing?
No, I wouldn't. I think I would take out the money we pledged to Ukraine, 100%, and this net zero nonsense, take that away and give that to our pensioners, but not foreign aid, no.
And I think I'd go through the government and start slashing various...
Oh, absolutely.
We need our own Doge.
There's Elon Musk here. Yeah.
Say, I would love to run the Department of Doge.
Stephen Wolf in there.
Civil servants would be running to their man.
The wolf at the door.
It'd be more than a wolf at the door, it'd be a whole pack of us.
Dream job. That would be a dream job.
Maybe Jacob Rees-Mogg could go back and do that and you're not working from home anymore letters.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Not working at all.